Do you see it? Look closely in the palm of my hand. To the untrained eye, it may appear empty, but you have to use your third eye to see the truth. What lays before you in the palm of my hand, my little greasy bare paws, are the Epstein files. Nothing. It's imaginary. Because this administration still refuses to actually comply with the law. Even when they did release like their couple of batches of Epstein files, they also didn't comply with the law because they redacted names that weren't victims, which has been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. And now it's been, what, a month past deadline, and they are still kicking the can down the road. And now, like a bucking bronco, they're putting up a real fight where now the DOJ is basically saying in their most recent filing that no court can order them to release these Epstein files. They can't force the release. They're basically gloating that they're kind of above the law, is the impression I get from reading through this. Now, a lot of it's legalese, so a bit of it's a bit above my pay grade, but from everything I've read from the experts who have went through this filing, this is the DOJ once again refusing to cooperate and is now just kind of outright saying that no one can really force them to do this. It's fucking sickening. What is supposed to be the most transparent administration in American history seems to have a real issue with transparency when it comes to the Epstein files for some fucking reason. Really makes you think, doesn't it? And speaking of thinking, I want to turn my attention to someone who hasn't had a thought in years. Pam Bondi. She farted out a super strong statement on Twitter that's no nonsense. A reminder to all those in Minnesota, no one is above the law. Mic drop moment. Literal chills. Scam Bondi here is alting. She's really laying it all on the table. But, let's be honest here, Pam. That's not exactly true now, is it? Because there are clearly people who are above the law. It's anyone that's associated with Jeffrey Epstein and the client list. Really, Pamela, it kind of makes me wonder if this could be an actual defense strategy people could employ. You know, like just claiming that they're on the Jeffrey Epstein client list. I wonder if that would just give them full immunity. Because I imagine it'd be like activating God mode in a video game, because this administration, they won't pursue shit if that's the case. So saying that you're on the Jeffrey Epstein client list, that's like Harry Potter putting on the invisibility cloak. Or Bilbo Baggins putting on the fucking One Ring. Just vanish out of this administration's eyes. But not only that, not only do you go invisible, they will jump on a live fucking grenade and do everything in their power to protect you. So, I don't know, I feel like that Ford worker that called Trump a pedophile protector was really onto something there, because there's a lot of pedophile protecting going on every single fucking day from this administration. How else can you possibly explain their reluctance to release the Epstein files and how hard they fight to stop it from coming? And since this administration won't do it, then we have to rely on some real heroes amongst us. These fucking clowns, these goddamn freaks that were given the Epstein Phase 1 binders. These online influencers were apparently holding the Epstein files, smiling and giddy, posing like it's the goddamn prom photos with the Epstein files, and since then, crickets. Why don't you guys release the files? You got the binders, right? Since the government won't be transparent, why don't you guys do it? You're supposed to be like fighting for the American people and shit, right? That's what you pretend to do online. You had the Epstein files, apparently. Why don't you just put it out there? It's just food for thought. I don't know. Now, of course, you'd have to be on the crack pipe to think any of those frauds actually got the Epstein files. I bet in those binders were just pictures of Trump's butthole just goatseeing or something. They clearly didn't get anything, and they are clearly just staying silent about all of this. I haven't seen any of them come forward with their binders since then, so I'm led to believe that they didn't actually get anything at all, and this was just a photo shoot. That's all. Nothing else. Now, back to the main topic here with the most recent filing where the DOJ is outright taking a victory lap about how untouchable they are and how they're really just not able to be forced to release the Epstein files. Let's dive into what's happened here, the most recent news. Yesterday, the DOJ moved to block the appointment of an independent monitor or special master to oversee the release of Epstein-related records in the Maxwell case, arguing that no federal court has the authority to compel such disclosures. It's 6 pages, and you can look at it yourself if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty of it, which I honestly do recommend because there are some eyebrow-raising statements in there. In a nutshell, though, they are trying every trick in the book to weasel their way out of actually having to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. They're basically arguing that the forced production of the so-called Epstein files amounts to an improper attempt to reopen a concluded criminal case and to create a form of judicial oversight that Congress itself did not authorize. There's a lot to digest in there in only 6 pages. They really give you a lot to fucking suck on, and they're not exactly subtle about it. There's even mentions of the representatives that have led for the passage of this Epstein Files Transparency Act, where they're calling into question, like, if they even had, like, the gusto to do so. At least that's how it reads to me, where they're questioning the standing that they have in order to even do something like this. In the actual filing, it really seems like they just started pissing on them as, like, saying they're not big enough to do this. Like, it felt like the actual filing was like, these guys are fucking nobodies and don't have the standing for it. But anyway, they asked the court to appoint a special master or independent monitor to compel DOJ compliance with the act, which the DOJ flatly opposes. To go a bit further, they argue that even if the court were inclined to entertain the request, it could not do so constitutionally. This is in regards to some of the things from the Epstein Transparency Act, and they assert that the representatives here they haven't suffered a concrete, particularized injury, and the Epstein Files Transparency Act does not create an individual right to obtain information, unlike the Freedom of Information Act, nor does the act authorize lawmakers or anyone else to sue the DOJ for alleged non-compliance. When I read that, I let out an involuntary noise of disgust, because that's just being very blatant and open about it. Like, yeah, if we don't comply, you can't do anything about it, dork, you fucking dweebs. Go kick rocks, pussy. If we don't comply, you can't sue us or anything. To harken back to Scam Bondi, it really does feel like there are some people above the law. I'm gonna be honest with you. Despite what your tweet is boldly stating, I do think there are some people above the law, Pam, and they might be right under your nose. Again, I'm kind of jumping around here. I recommend reading the whole thing, but in closing, prosecutors maintain that the act provides no cause of action at all. Where Congress has not explicitly authorized judicial enforcement, federal courts are barred from inventing one. As the DOJ puts it, courts cannot reach out to award remedies where neither the Constitution nor a statute authorize them. In short, the government's filing makes clear that absent new legislation explicitly authorizing court enforcement, the DOJ believes no court can force it to produce the Epstein files, regardless of public pressure or congressional intent. Real quick, to briefly tie this back to good old Scam Bondi, since she wants to bring up Minnesota, there's this big talking point about comply. Well, why does compliance only apply to American citizens? Why doesn't it apply to the DOJ as well, who is not complying with the law? They're also supposed to be governed by the law too. According to Pam, no one's above the law, so why aren't they complying with it? They have been routinely violating the protocol set in the law with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. They are not complying with it, and in this most recent filing, they are even openly saying, if we don't comply with it, you can't sue us or anything. They're even saying in their own statement about non-compliance, why would they even be teasing that notion of non-compliance? Why won't they just comply? Why are the administrative authorities not talking about the DOJ's reluctance to comply with the law? I don't know, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Pam, it feels like some people are above the law, doesn't it? I don't know, I'm just getting a whiff of that for some reason. Anyway, that's your most recent Epstein Files update. It's not looking like it's ever actually going to lead to anyone getting arrested in regards to the Epstein client list. Who would have seen that coming? Unthinkable that this administration wouldn't be pursuing action against those evil, fucking heinous villains in the Epstein client list. It's so odd that they wouldn't be transparent in releasing these files. One of the main things Trump ran on was about releasing these Epstein files. So many in his supporter base were very excited to see that happen, and now it's not happening, and they're fighting tooth and nail every step of the way over the last year to prevent this from happening. And now, even though there's an actual act, a law put into place that they're supposed to follow to release them, they're still not doing it, and are now even just saying, yeah, maybe we won't. No courts can really make us do that. And if we don't do that, you can't sue us for it either. I feel like anyone should have a big problem with that. I feel like any sane, sensible person should immediately view this as the biggest possible red fucking flag. And it seems to me that that Ford worker that called Trump a pedophile protector to his face, which elicited a finger and a fuck you from the big man in charge, it really seems like that pedophile protector nomenclature feels accurate for Trump in this administration, based on all available information here for how hard they don't want these Epstein files to come out. Feels like they're doing a lot of pedophile protecting. That's really about it. So yeah,